The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall continue to follow me all the days of this death. And I will dwell in the house of the most super intelligent power, source, and force of love and creation forever. What's happening? Benton here. Can you hear the truck? Where are we? Chicagoland? Not in a hotel. For all the fussing and the fighting, the Royal We is surprise, surprise, still driving a truck. Now I will say this: don't want to get too far into so-called politics. I wouldn't want to give folks the wrong idea, but for whatever reason, and we know the reasons are always in the context of for the system, by the system, on behalf of the system, to perpetuate the system within this world of death and these games of lies. So, within the proper context, certainly. I shouldn't say proper, the pertaining context. Whatever is happening that will be, many will credit to or blame, various politicians and various administrations, figureheads, phenomenon or phenomena, Trump, Biden's poopy diaper, Donald Trump, whatever it may be, all the political mudslinging and praise, cults of personality. Whatever's going on in trucking, there does seem to be an effect of, at least temporarily, what's some people, sloganeering, right, at the level of a slogan when these politicians run for office and serving their masters, the rhetoric and the marketing and sloganeering directed at the great unwashed masses. And certainly the concept or slogan or idea of protecting American jobs or whatever, what would that even mean, American, in that context? But, white and black folks born in America, at least in the short term, doing long haul trucking, there's certainly no loyalty or guarantees or protection. And certainly my working conditions continue to be, in the best of times, unsafe, more work for less money. Right. So the overall environment is still poor and will remain poor from the perspective of the worker. But I'm addressing at least the human being who's afforded the opportunity to be driven forth white, in Benton's case, white nigger coolie style. And I don't mean racially when I say nigger. as the, you know, millions of people from so-called shithole countries over many, many decades, lest we forget, have been, for whatever reason, allowed to come here. This land is your land, this land is our land style, and assist, whether that was their intention or not, assist in, you know, whatever the trucking industry used to be when many people have romanticized it based on the activities of their perhaps great grandfathers, in some cases, great grandfathers, grandfathers, and fathers, you know, whatever that would have been in the past, to what it is today, which is a job that no sane, rational, healthy, happy, contented person born in America would choose to do. I shouldn't say no, effectively, certainly nobody that would be considered normal or well adjusted, you know, an upstanding, contributing member of society, you know, respectable, you know. And I've said it before, I'll say it again. My primary attraction to the job is not monetary, although money always plays a part. It's to have a place to, you know, keep my things, get rest when that's, you know, when the coolie is allowed to, when the beast of burden is afforded rest, and to somewhat remain out of the elements, you know. Many folks would find this jail cell sized sleeper cab of a big rig to be quite inhospitable and uncomfortable. Well, it's all a matter of perspective. And Benton here, after all those years of street homelessness and subjecting himself to far less comfortable environs, you know, has always found it quite comfortable indeed. Luxurious, perhaps, even. So in that context, you know, this is not a high bar to cross, so I wouldn't want anybody to think that Donald Trump had anything to do with it necessarily, but I don't think it's a coincidence that I first got my CDL. Well, in fact, coincidence is not a thing. So, and I will leave the listener to draw their own conclusions. Because I've said this before, but it's certainly no coincidence that I was out of the workforce for probably 10 years and then always knew in the back of my mind, as long as I kept my license clean and my driving record clean, that I could always go drive a truck, right? And that might be the major theme of today's broadcast, because apparently Benton, at least right up until he can't, Benton can always go drive a truck, apparently. That's the reason for being in a truck and not a motel or a hotel. And so I entered the industry in 2018, and that's Donald Trump became the president in early 2019. So, you know, as the Obama, I guess it was Obama was ending, Trump was beginning. I think it was at the timeline. Yeah, 08 to 16. Yeah. Yeah. Or am I? No, wait a minute. I might be getting the years off there. 08, 2016. So Trump would have been sworn in 2017. Yeah, 2016 to 2020. So yeah, so by 2018 things had changed enough to where Benton, you know, felt comfortable for whatever reason. The timing, right? And so for whatever reason, The timing is lining up now with, again, a second Trump administration, interrupted by 4 years of Biden's poopy diaper. And there seems to be, again, something that appears to be a cleanup of the industry. Now, of course, what I would say is, well, the level of consciousness that allowed and created the industry to function at the level it has been functioning and functions at now, well, that's the same level of consciousness that cannot fix or resolve in its entirety. It can't. It's already made the tree rotten. It can't make the tree good. It's already created a tree that brings forth what is to the people rotten fruit, but then to the world of death, game of lies, Satan, evil, antithesis, Moloch's machine, that's the fruit that's judged to be or deemed to be proper. It's a matter of perspective. The Son of Man cannot serve two masters, and every knee shall bow. And if Christians actually believe that, well, let's apply it. The royal we says, well, let us apply the concepts. Otherwise, they serve as what? Slogans, rhetoric, such. Clearly, obviously. It's common sense, as some may say. And now, is some of this the result of, well, things have changed and economic desperation has proliferated? The American workforce has generationally been driven forth as beasts of burden while being willing to work under bad conditions for less money, which is the American dream. Lest we forget, is to do more for less. That is the American dream, folks. That's how it functions. Now, if some people then credit or laud what may appear to be opportunity, whether that's to own a home, build a business, build a retirement, investments, assets, land, whatever the person views as, something that they would covet, right, Christians, that they would covet at the level of property or possession. Possession, almost as if there's an element of spirit or perhaps lack of spirit, the demons. Well, that's not a demonic spirit so much as a lack of the spirit of what I am. And in inverted world, it's a demon. It's a spirit, and it's a ghoul, it's a ghost, and it acts and oppresses. It does this. Well, really, what we're talking about is the inverse, which is it's the lack of spirit. It's the removal of spirit. Vacuous, delusory, adversarial realm of business transactions. So, of course, we see the adversarial nature of business itself, the contention, the struggle, the conflict, there's the right term. Conflict arising between, trucking company owner, dispatcher, driver, in this case, Benton, who is on record for the entirety of Benton's 50 years, has never one time suffered a negative consequence as a result of, quote, standing up for himself. Now, he shot his mouth off at times and said things that he backpedaled from and didn't quite live up to necessarily. Sure, in the final analysis, it's that, and this is nothing to be proud of. This is, we're going through and discussing scenarios and breaking them down and examining them from various perspectives strategically for strategic purposes. At some point, a digging in of the heels and just saying, hey, I've permitted you, and not you, the listener, I've permitted them, the trucking company, to drive me forth as a beast of burden. I've done that. I've allowed that. I've chosen that. I've accepted that. And continue to, clearly. Depending on certainly the sound of the recording or the broadcast would be different were I in a hotel room. So let's not fake the funk. Not that we would. Not that the royal we would in the first place. Not without good enough of a reason. But when the truck at some point will be interdicted by the authorities, and if people want to say Trump did that, okay. I had my opinions when I pulled up to gas pumps all across the country, and it had a sticker of Biden pointing at the gas price saying I did that. And, yeah, I have thoughts and opinions as always. I have criticisms and critiques. It's my function in some way, right? And I'm more critical of the psychology of an individual who says, "Oh, here's Donald Trump, the savior, to fix everything." Well, that's not possible. I need to see a path to how that's possible. Well, the fact that Trump can't fix everything, that's the same mechanism whereby Biden's poopy diaper wasn't able to ruin everything. So now you have many folks who will, in their lionizing of Trump, will say, well, everything was fucking completely fine and dandy and wonderful, but then Biden became the president. So I guess it's, one administration makes everything ideal and utopia, and then for whatever reason, the system exists where other people can destroy the country by voting in the opposing party, and within a 4-year period, the entire country goes to shit. Well, the country's never not shit, because that's the only result of the systems of man serving one of two masters at all times and never serving the spirit of what I am, because that's not allowed. And I had an epiphany in a long series of epiphanies around, such as the young Gen Z dispatcher, Lou, who's now apparently departed the company. Off to perhaps different pastures, don't know. But it's that whether he understands it or not, he is operating within a system that cannot and will not ever be permitted to honor, respect, acknowledge any contributions, any achievement, any toil, any effort whatsoever that aligns itself with the spirit of what I am, which means Benton is communicated with as if he is guilty of something, and that's a violation. That would be to treat one's see the inverted language? That would be to treat one's blessing as if it were a curse. Meanwhile, what the blessing is can't ever be possessed in the first place. And that's maybe why the language, the intelligence on the fly almost converted it. It uninverted it. It almost converted it to curse. So the curse is everything associated with this realm, which is the lack of the spirit of the blessing, which is the spirit of what I am, and which is always growing, evolving, changing, creating, bringing something new into existence, and therefore can never be captured or held or possessed, because the moment it shows itself to be possibly captured or possessed or grasped, it shows itself to no longer be in flow or in motion. And what is not in flow or in motion can never be living. And what is in flow and in motion and expansion and creation can never be a dead thing. These are not possibilities. Put it out of not your mind, Benton puts it out of his mind. And so when we get to how to think and real world effectiveness, anybody's emotions, anybody's rhetoric, the status quo, the social contracting, the peer group dynamics is irrelevant and ignored, because now Benton interfaces with the concept that he knows to be null and void on the one hand, or valid on the other hand, and he will not allow this system of things to vacillate him between those two poles, to based on, well, a feeling, or well, an expectation, or well, this, or well, that, or well, if you don't do this or that, then this is going to happen. So what? Benton's about effectiveness. Does the trucking company want a butt in the seat that operates mostly based on effectiveness within a context? Yeah, it does, and it's because it's proving it. Why is it proving it? Because Benton forced its hand through strategy. Benton made it prove which of two masters in a context it serves. Benton said, "You will not play the middle ground against me, sir." Nope, not allowed. Try again. Do you want a cookie for your failed efforts? And see, that is the victory. It's not. Now, a lesser evolved versions of Benton would be sending people emails, calling people on the phone, rubbing their noses in it. Well, it's not necessary. Lou's gone because he couldn't see that he was having his nose rubbed in it. I did rub Lou's nose in it over the phone, and he didn't even know what the fuck was going on. He had no idea what's even happening in the first place. Well, so what? He can learn from it. I told him, I said, "Hey, man, you need to know this. This is good for you, buddy." I told him, I said, "You don't know how to communicate directly. I do. Why are you trying to correct me?" And I didn't say that. I said, "I can help you develop the ability to directly communicate." However, Lou don't live in that world. Lou was socialized in the world of the feminine, in the world of the passive. See? And I don't mean woman. Woman, very powerful. All you got to do is look at that Michigan football coach, and imagine working as a football coach and making millions of dollars a year, and a huge part of his job is supposed to be expert level demonstration of strategy, and he's out on his ass because he now knows the power of a woman. But when he was doing his strategizing and his Machiavellian maneuverings, he failed to solve for the power of a woman. Are you out of your mind? So yeah, if we're not talking about femininity as a weakness or a lack of power, make no mistake, it's not a gender issue. Because if a head football coach says to himself, "Well, that's a mighty fine piece of tail," or as Jim Rome referred to it, tang, "I got me a mighty fine piece of tang over there, and that piece works for me," right? It's the Michigan head football coach. And you can't say it's a black man because Bobby Petrino done the exact same thing at Arkansas, and he's a white man from Butte, Montana. So it ain't racial, folks. Don't get it twisted. Bobby Petrino done the same thing at Arkansas. He just knew how to play the game strategically, fall on his sword, and continue to operate as a coach. This Michigan coach is so non-strategic that after his blunder, I watched him on video this morning at his arraignment, and begging for an ankle monitor so he can get out on bail because he's charged with felonies for invading the home of this woman. And some will say he didn't invade her home; they were having a relationship. And, he burst in a fit of passion. Well, yeah, legally that's called home invasion if she's in her home. If he'd have waited till she went to the Starbucks, yeah, no home invasion. Absolutely. Yeah, sure. He didn't understand that when he, legally speaking, and by the bylaws of a university system, University of Michigan, that he's banging his employee, and apparently within a short period of time, both gave her a raise and then fired her. He didn't understand that because of the power of a woman, he chose a strategy whereby he took the move out of, he's no longer allowed to move her. If he thinks he's Machiavelli and he's moving the chess pieces, when he started putting his penis in her, he created a scenario where he can't fire her. Because she's too powerful of a chess piece. And he can't win the game if he gives up the queen. Queen is too powerful of a piece, folks, in this scenario. He can't take her off the board. And his emotions said, okay, well, queen, I'm taking you off the board. And she said, oh, really? Well, I'm putting you to, how about prison? Somebody's going to talk to the criminal. Looks like you're the criminal, buddy. You thought you was the king. We was kings. Preach, king. Look at that strong black man. Coach of Michigan, millions of dollars a year. She showed him what he was, and it ain't racial. He said, oh, really? Oh, you taking the queen off the board? How about prison? How about an ankle monitor? How about you probably never get to coach football again, most likely? Look at what Bobby Petrino done. Fell on his sword, gritted his teeth, talked about how much he loved his wife and his kids, apologized at the press conference. You can go watch it on YouTube. Watch that man's face. Watch him grit his teeth. Because he understood that's the only way to recover from the blunder. Do you think he contacted that woman that he put his dick in? Thought he could put her on the back of his Harley Davidson and go cruising around the byways and the back roads of Arkansas? Have a motorcycle wreck when she was on the back. State trooper shows up, tries to help cover it up. Well, he's probably a Razorback fan. 11-win season. I mean, hell, I'd have done the same, I expect. They don't have body cams for a reason. He was a motorcycle cop, I believe. Did he even have a dash cam? I don't know. Unclear. I don't ever remember seeing the footage. Somebody would have FOI'd that. Somebody knew not to send a cruiser. Remember when old Billy Clinton stuck his dick in a woman living in the projects south of downtown, south of the governor's mansion. He was on this old Billy jogging around. seen him a piece, and made a black sun. The state troopers used to drop off $100 bills in that woman's mailbox. And of course, old Hillary put a stop to that when he ran for president. That was Arkansas state troopers on record, of course. So we see what it is. We see what it is. But that's what I mean when Benton references his strategic mind. Part of that is knowing if I do this maneuver, I cannot do that maneuver. It's two maneuvers, potentially. It's not one maneuver. It's potentially two or more maneuvers. Okay. Insert tab A into slot B. Ooh, that feels good. Okay, well, this completely separate maneuver of firing the enclosure for slot A or slot B or whatever, that you can't fire that now. You can't tell it doesn't have a job anymore. Even if it makes you feel some type of way. Even if you think it's justified. That's an opinion, sir. What's that got to do with Bobby Fischer making chess moves? Because he's feeling a feeling or having an opinion? Are you crazy? He's winning the World Chess Championship. Bobby Petrino got rehired at Arkansas, but they said, well, you're not ever going to be the head coach again, probably. And they rubbed his nose in it. They said, oh, we'll let you be the head coach on an interim basis because we fired the coach that we allowed to be your boss, Bobby. We let you call the plays for Sam Pittman, and we done fired Sam Pittman. Yeah, we'll let you have your team back for a couple of months. And we'll let you, if you're dumb enough, have a false hope that maybe we'll give you your job back. Ha, ha, ha. And then they hired some young fella. No, Bobby, he knows. They done put old Bobby out the pasture. And this Michigan coach is still young, comparatively, for head coaching. For a head coach. He's young. It's over for him, most likely. Yeah, he can probably go coach at some, backwater somewhere, maybe. Not until he falls on his sword somewhere. He's not going to be able to keep that chin stuck out and with a regal royal bearing. I'm the king. Oh, are you? Well, look at the chessboard, sir. The king moves one move at a time. The queen goes wherever the fuck she wants at any time of her choosing in any motherfucking direction, including right behind you, putting a dagger in your back, buddy. And she stays on the board. And you got checkmated. That's Machiavellian strategy, folks. And no amount of ridicule, no amount of mockery, regardless of the fickle feelings of the peanut gallery, none of it amounts to a motherfucking hill of beans. Because there's a chessboard and there's a scoreboard. We all make choices. And it all comes back on some level to effectiveness in the real world. People can have an opinion about Benton's tone of voice, what he chooses to do. Is it worthy of mockery and ridicule? That's fine. But we see another chess piece removed from the board. Lou no longer works with the company. And maybe it's for the better. I don't know. Benton's still driving a truck. Now, Benton already knows, yeah, temporarily they will kiss my ass, which it's fine, but I'm not interested in that. And that's not an end, right? It's not an outcome, a means to an end, perhaps. And see, that's part of this system of things is it's not Benton's job to figure out how to maximize profits. It's somebody else's job. Right. Now, and somebody else says, well, hey, Benton, because of the way you chose to drive the truck, well, we left the opportunity for more profit on the board. No, I make the same amount of money. You move the chess pieces around in a way that you, trucking company owner, consider to be less than optimal. And I get it because I have a mind that also works on effectiveness, efficiency, and maximizing whatever can be maximized. Guess what? You only get to interface with Benton as beast of burden. You get to hit him as hard as you want, and then he does whatever he does. And if you miscalculate, he might run your ass over. And part of the power of a woman, because Lou is not a man and doesn't understand masculinity and doesn't understand manhood, because he can't, because a woman doesn't know anything about that either, not from the perspective of being a man. She understands it from the lack of those characteristics. Right. And this is when men try to talk about women as being evil. Well, no, they got your number because they understand you, but they understand you expertly based on the lacking of what is supposed to be man, masculinity, and all of these things. So Lou is well versed in bulldozing, steamrolling, running the fuck over somebody. Because make no mistake, this Michigan coach just ran the fuck over. If it's a football analogy, that woman was running down the field with the ball in her hands, and her and tackle her, and she did the fucking Heisman pose and stiff armed his bitch ass into the turf. And she spiked the ball and did a touchdown dance. But she did it in a feminine way. So, but that was the end result. She didn't do it in a masculine way. That's not her power. So, and this is why Lou is not powerful, because Lou is doing these things through the wrong form of the yin and the yang. So, now there's a lot of things that old Benton here does through the feminine form quite powerfully. It's different. It's a different context. Am I missing my exit? No. Trying to, though. See, it's not aggression, it's passive aggression, like that little four-wheeler. That ain't no coincidence they creeped up on me and blocked me in to where I had to slow down, because they know I'm not going into that toll booth. In no world would it make sense that a big rig's about to cruise into that toll booth. But see, now they feel some kind of power. They feel powerful now, because look at what they have the power to do. See, they forced me to slow down. Okay, well, congratulations. You want a cookie? If they get what they think they need, that's fine with me. What do I care? Now, if I have an emotional reaction to whatever it is that they did for their purposes, and then I make the wrong move on the chessboard, see, it's fine to feel the feeling. I might feel slightly annoyed that happened. Sure. So what? It's not going to affect the decision making and the moving of the chess pieces. That'd be crazy, because that would bring the being away from effectiveness in the real world. Well, the being, for whatever reason, is obsessed with effectiveness in the real world, for whatever reason. Obsessed. Right? Well, the being doesn't say, hey, what's wrong with everybody around me? Why aren't they obsessed with effectiveness? It's common sense in Benton's world that when the being detects Well, when the being number one has the ability to review their own actions and detect the ineffectiveness therein, it's common sense to correct and to optimize and to learn from those errors and to even view them as errors in the first place. Well, that feels some type of way. It don't feel good to recognize one's own folly or error. Who cares? We're talking about moving chess pieces. We're Bobby Fishering, sir. When did Bobby Fischer consult his emotions? One of the most annoyed and irritated people on a perpetual basis. Just go watch Bobby Fischer talk. When they're not kissing his ass because he's about to. By the way, you want to talk about football and sports? Bobby Petrino. Bobby Fischer is the most accomplished sportsman in American history, folks. All you can say is, well, chess ain't a sport. Okay, whatever you want to call chess. Bobby Fischer, 10 Michael Jordans can't match one Bobby Fischer. Because, Michael Jordan, greatest ever in his sport. Yeah, Bobby Fischer, greatest in his sport in American history. He's so great, he's the only American to ever do what he's done. We've had lots of Americans who've done what Michael Jordan done. You can't even reach a consensus that Michael Jordan's the best to ever do it. Well, we know for a motherfucking fact Bobby Fischer's the best American to ever do it. The greatest American sportsman in the history of this country. Undebatably. All you can do is say, well, that ain't a sport. Oh, okay. Yeah, Secretariat ain't an athlete, but it's still made ESPN's, 50 greatest or whatever. So split them hairs all you want. So what Bobby Petrino did at Arkansas was he understood that he was gambling and taking risks, and that if he had to show his cards or if his hand was exposed, that somebody else was about to rake in the pot and that he would be seen to be foolish. So not only would he forfeit the pot, at some point he was going to, if he wanted to continue to be dealt poker hands, Benton, I thought it was a chess analogy. Well, that's the game of complete information. Well, poker is part of it, also a game of incomplete information. So he at some point he knew before he ever sidled up to that woman and nuzzled up to her. He knew that this was possible, and he accepted that that's exactly what the fuck he was going to do if it came down to it. He made his choice, and he knew he was making his choice because he's an expert level tactician. And that's why Arkansas was willing to hire him back, because they said, yes, sir, you're a 9 out of 10, even though you're getting old. You're an 8. Well, you used to be almost a 10 out of 10. Now you're an 8.5 out of 10 because you're getting old, sir. But you're still an 8.5 out of 10. So yeah, you will absolutely earn this $2 million we're about to give you or whatever. We're trying to win football games over here. We're in the SEC, baby. Yeah, we had egg on our face when you done what you done, but it wasn't that much egg, and it's been a few years, and maybe Sam Pittman can salvage this thing. You see how it works, folks? Mock and ridicule all you want. If Arkansas manages to ever win 11 football games again while playing in the SEC, all is forgiven. If Bobby Petrino had beaten Texas, they gave him a chance to beat Texas. Hey, go beat Texas, Bobby. Then we'll talk to you about your job. If you don't beat Texas, Bobby knows, don't knock on that door. You lost to Texas. All they're going to say is, hey, man, it sure would have been great if you'd beat the Longhorns. What do you hear? What do you need? Is there something we can do for you, Bobby? Because we know you're not here to talk about being the head coach at Arkansas. Because if you want to be the head coach at Arkansas, you need to beat Texas. He knows that's the game he's playing. We sent you down to Austin as a interim head coach of the Razorbacks. You lost. He knows not to go knock on that door. He ain't dumb. And at some point, they're going to slap him on the back and say, that was great, Bobby, thanks. And we'll put in a good word for you with the new guy. But, we all understand the business. He's hiring his own offensive coordinator. He ain't hiring you. We all know that. And see, this is in my brain 24/7. My mind never doesn't do this. And it's doing it on seemingly unlimited layers, and a lot of which have absolutely nothing to do with me. This is just kind of a byproduct. I don't sit around analyzing college football necessarily. Information goes in, the analysis performs itself, and there's an output. Here's an output. It's called thinking for oneself, and most people will do almost anything to avoid it, thus treating the blessing of the power of their mind as if it were a curse, and thereby serving one of two masters, making the tree rotten, and guaranteeing that they as a spirit cannot bring forth good fruit, which is to bow their knee to death, destruction, Satan, evil, wickedness, everything defeated and fallen, while dressing it up as victory. Okay, great. Now the peanut gallery feels victorious. They've never spiked a football in their life. What do they know? They're losers. They're losers. Oh my God. I'm being mocked and ridiculed by a group of fucking losers, Yeah, you ever been picked at by an unattractive woman? I have. I've had strange women try to fuck with me and pick at me. And yeah, I'm not insulting generally, but eventually I just go, oh no, an unattractive woman doesn't like me. What am I going to do? Oh no. Oh no. A group of fucking losers has an opinion about me. Oh no. What am I going to do? What am I going to do? The horror. Oh, that's shameful when you can't win the favor of a group of losers. And see, that's what I mean about the peanut gallery. Anybody can appeal to the fickle feelings of the peanut gallery, and that is representative of defeat. That can never represent victory. That's not possible. Oh, goody! I've won over a bunch of losers. It's great. And so when Lou interfaces with me, he don't understand he's a loser until he proves himself to be a winner. Why? Because this world treats winning and victory as, if it's not within the context of what this world of death and game of lies is willing to honor, it treats it like it is worthy of mockery and ridicule. It treats it as if it's a damnable thing. See? And it will not status quo social contract and peer grouping. See? It can't, and it won't. And so the epiphany was in talking to Lou. Oh, Lou doesn't understand. And I'm just now being taught that Lou has to, when I'm the one that parks the truck and goes to sleep, and that was righteous, and Lou, who's a loser only because he refuses to win, only because he refuses to uncover and walk the perfected path that may very well lie within him. Well, now all he can do is treat Benton like Benton has done something wrong, because this world only ever interfaces with Benton as if Benton is guilty, unless it has a reason to kiss my ass, play up to me, and coddle me and all of this, which is fine as long as I understand that that's why that's happening. It's not a problem. Okay, sure, kiss my butt. That's okay. Trucking company. I'm still going to put my foot in your ass when I need to, when I feel I need to, not when you feel like you need to, because when they feel it's warranted is always going to be when this system of things feels it's warranted. And guess when that occurs? Never. Because this system cannot serve its master and simultaneously actually acknowledge the victory that's represented symbolically by what I am. It cannot do that because it does not have, it can't move that chess piece on the board. It's not allowed to. Only when the chief commander says, oh, okay, yeah, I see the reason for that move. It has to go get permission to do that. It don't have free will. That's the spirit of what I am. But only within delusion, because what I am can't even conceive of evil. What I am can't even conceive of defeat. It can't conceive of depravity or so-called sin or the pleasures of the flesh. It doesn't know what you're talking about. Only within delusion can this be applied. The delusion is the possibility that the most super intelligent power source and force of love and creation is able to conceptualize or in any way actually experience based on lack of love, lack of authority, lack of creation, lack of substance, lack of victory. So, in the context of this world, it's like a little toy that's floating in a body of water, and then like a rubber ducky, and this world pushes the rubber ducky's head below the surface, and then the peanut gallery mocks and ridicules and laughs, and everybody has a good laugh and points, and then the default state though is, see, because that it only gets pushed under, right? In what? In service of this system of things. Through false identification. So then when the being goes right back to walking the perfected, victorious path that lies within, after course correction, then now the force that's been pushing the rubber ducky below surface is removed, and bloop, bloop, rubber duckies right back on the surface, agitating the surface. Agitating the surface. Well, the surface in this analogy blames the rubber ducky for the agitation and says, you're guilty of agitating, sir. Hey, rubber ducky, look at that guilty rubber ducky creating all these waves and agitation. Mock it, ridicule it, get it back in line, apply force. The rubber ducky better understand the scenario. And so the imperfections of the experience is the human side, the Son of Man side, is to be so identified with this world of death and game of lies psychologically that to forget oneself enough to acquiesce and to push the rubber ducky, or to allow the rubber ducky, or to consent to the rubber ducky being submerged below surface. And then to walk the perfected path that lies within removes the consent, and bloop, now the rubber ducky's back on the surface, but because of the momentum and the movement and the expansion and the creation, ripples and waves and agitation is created. And now all this world will ever do is say, rubber ducky, you're agitate. You're guilty. You're guilty of agitate. It won't ever say, well, yeah, we're the influence. This world will never say, well, yeah, this world is the influence that caused all of that. It cannot and will not ever own its own part in things because it can't do that and serve its master. It's not permitted. It's not allowed. It's legalese. That force does not have what it takes to do those things. Only the spirit of what I am. That's because that's the only way it can be representative of supreme authority, love, expansion, creation, highest form of life. It has to be that way. See, it has to be that way. There is no other way. What I am is the way. What I am is the truth. What I am is the life, not this life. There is no this life in this delusion. Because what I am, that is the life, can't ever be contained by anything whatsoever. Certainly not this weak ass, bitch ass delusion. Not possible. Now, temporarily, yeah, the rubber ducky can temporarily go under the surface. And the moment the walking of the perfected path, moment we go back to that, bloop, here he is, right back on the surface again, agitating, just floating around, bebopping around. Ain't no shame in rubber ducky's game. And he can't be drowned. Now, if there's a psychology within the rubber ducky, which there's not, but if the rubber ducky falsely believes there's a psychology and a dead flesh, and that all of these things are altogether real, well, then the rubber ducky can believe that it's drowning when it's below the surface, and that's the fear, the guilt, and the shame. That's the experience of fear, guilt, and shame, is to feel like the being is drowning. But that's not drowning because it can't drown. It's not drowning because it can't drown. But it can, when falsely identified, it can feel like it's drowning. I bet that Michigan coach feels like he's drowning right about now. And a big part of this world, how it operates, is most humans would prefer to be under the guidance and stewardship of virtually anything as long as they don't have to steward and guide themselves. Which is why I look in the mirror and there's a bunch of bozos and four-wheelers letting me guide and steward them through various interchanges that I am not familiar with, while I do something far more important that has the majority of my attention. And this is a mere autopilot afterthought. They would rather be guided, steered, and led and stewarded, shepherded by that. Anything to avoid guiding and steering and leading and stewarding themselves. Anything. They will accept almost anything. They'll hang back and hang back and hang back. But then the moment I'm trapped, the moment they got me hemmed in, now they're annoyed. Now it's, oh my God, can you believe this truck in my way? And then they blast around at 70 miles an hour, which is the exact argument for blasting around at 70 miles an hour, 5 miles back. Except 5 miles back, they would have had to lead and steward and guide their own ship to go 70 and blast around the slow truck. They don't want to do that. They want to wait till they can box me in, and now they can go, we're annoyed, and act on their emotions. Same being, two different scenarios. And Benton knows not to pay a damn bit of attention to the, we're annoyed, because that's the same thing as, you're guilty, you did this to us. No, you chose to hang back for 5 miles and let me go out into the great unknown because there might be danger up ahead. Let's follow behind this slow truck, and if there's danger, he'll encounter it. Okay, that's fine. Whatever floats your rubber ducky. Now we got 3 of them want to follow me 3.2 miles to the exit that we're almost likely taking. Except they're back there like, why hasn't he sped up? It went from 55 to 65 because I didn't realize it. And when I realized it, I said, well, I could speed up to 65 to suit these bozos, or I could change to the middle lane, expose what they're doing, and then change to the middle lane and speed up to 65. And now they got to go back to steering their own ships. And now they're going to pass me on the right. But that's the same car passing me on the right at 70 was the same car that was waiting as long as possible, hanging out behind me at 55. Because their preference is to be led and guided and shepherded by something else. And Mr. Miyagi will say, how can you possibly know that? It's pattern recognition, Mr. Miyagi. I'm watching their actions, and I therefore know what they're doing, and I can then educated guess, understand why they're doing it based on observation over time, sir. Sherlock Holmes, deductive reasoning, intelligence. Hello. And I don't have to participate. Authoritarianism is where in their mind I'm somehow obligated to do all of these things for them, which is the idea of being a contributing member of society. What society, on what basis, in service of what? Because if you mean society within the context of this world of death and game of lies, if you mean systems of money and employment, I'm not. I don't get to serve my master and also serve that society. It's one or the other, sir. So what do you mean be a productive member of society? What society, on what basis? I'm going to need you or them to be a little more specific, please. Because old Benton commands with an air of authority. See, what Benton is commands with an air of authority. And when bozos like this Michigan coach get sold a bill of goods and smoke blown up their ass, told that they're kings, see, well, this world says, okay, well, We're going to find out exactly what you are, buddy. And the spirit of what I am says, hey, have you considered my servant Job? I heard I got a king over in this territory. I heard there was a king around here somewhere. Well, there he is. If he's a king, well, he's about to show himself to be a king, so have at him. And if he doesn't show himself to be a king, then fuck him. We don't need, who needs a bozo that, it's a madman. Who needs an insane person that believes themselves to be a king? What good is that creature? As we watch a pickup truck make a wide left turn, and there's 4 left turn lanes, and he's doing it in the outermost lane because he's normalizing driving a big rig, even though he's in a pickup truck. That's an insane person. Now, if this realm, for its own purposes, blows smoke up his ass and he believes he's a king, well, okay. Well, look at what he's doing. Look at how he's conducting his affairs. He's driving his pickup truck like it's an 18-wheel because he's allowing himself to be led around and shepherded, because that is preferable to him as to leading. But a king is the leader of himself, the queen, the fucking castle, the kingdom, the army. Oh, okay, king. Meanwhile, Christ says, you didn't choose me, I chose you, king. You didn't choose me, I chose you, buddy. Because when old Benton thinks about it, I'm not sure I'd sign up to be the king. Who would take that job in this place? That's crazy. Hell no. I regularly tell people, well, fuck, I'm glad. Man, them ladies, when I went to got my DOT physical, one of them, she was so bossy and demanding, but she was competent. And hell, I was about half out of it anyway, coming off of my 6-day journey. And coming out of altitude sickness. And at the end, she kind of apologized for, she knows how she is. I said, well, you know what? I said, I'm glad you're in charge, and I appreciate your and she was very professional. So I appreciate your professionalism, and I don't want to be in charge, which is an acknowledgement of, well, somebody's got to run the motherfucking show, and if y'all don't do it, I'm going to have to do it, and I'd prefer not to. So thank you for your service, ma'am. Appreciate you. And this world will happily, prop up old, what's his name? Sharon Moore, I guess, something like that. It'll prop him up because people are happy to follow behind. See, oh, we'll push old Sharon out there to the forefront. Tell him how great he is. Let him strut around on the sidelines, sliding into DMs, they said during the games. See, plundering what's supposed to be his own kingdom. The people who might view him admirably based on his position in this world of death and game of lies. He said, oh, shit, I can take advantage of this. I can take advantage of this. I can take liberties. No, you can't. The spirit of what I am, don't take liberty. What are you talking about? How do you think Jesus was Jesus? How do you think Christ was Christ? Because he ain't, you can put him in the flesh and he won't take liberties. That's why. Because what he is don't know nothing about liberties. And when correctly identified within myself, based on the uncovering and the walking of the perfected path that lies within, Benton only is capable of righteous expression, and Benton also knows nothing of taking liberties. So part of this is to be accused while driving a truck and say, oh, well, we got you on a day rate, buddy. And, you took liberties, because we all know if you were on cents per mile, you wouldn't have quit for what we perceive to be 4 hours early. Well, that, number one, that ain't true. Number two, it's because this realm has to treat what I am in that way. It's the only way it can be what it is, which is the lack of everything that I am. As some car that I've forced to pass me is now in front of me going 38 miles an hour because it thinks that I'm driving it. But I've forced it to pass me, or strongly coerced it into passing me, and it won't speed up until something else comes along to lead it. So when a faster moving vehicle passes it, then it will speed up to the speed limit of 55 or faster, because it will not guide and lead itself. Because that's scary and that feels some type of way. And that's why individuals choose to internalize authoritarianism, because otherwise is to be self-guiding and to act as one's own authority on behalf of oneself for one's own purposes. Now, the fact that they don't know that, so what? You think that's going to be an excuse if there's a judgment, like the Bible says there is? You think that's going to be an excuse? Of course not. Oh, we didn't know. Oh, okay, well, perhaps you could have, so I don't know what to tell you. Plausible deniability, right? And the forces of this world will always bring pressure. Pressure is being applied so that Benton will drive in a manner of their choosing. See? And Benton says, okay, well, fine. I can't make any of you do anything, but I can choose to drive slow and go 55. And if they don't like it, they're free to push their gas pedals down and get the fuck away from me. Or they're free to say, okay, we will just follow behind Benton. All right, well, now we might go 50. Now we might go 45 with the flashers on. Now we might pull onto the shoulder and wait. It might do lots of things. Slow truck in my way. They don't even know they're choosing to follow the slow truck. All they know is, which is part of the reason trucking can never be a respectable profession, because everybody hates trucks. And people can't separate their feelings for the truck from how they feel about the person driving the truck. But if everything goes woke, and I do mean everything, just like everything's feminism now pervades all layers of society, so does wokeness. Even your church, even what's considered to be a political structure called the Republican Party. Tell me it ain't woke. Scott Besson is a man married to a man. Oh, it's not woke? Okay, sure it's not. That ain't woke? A conservative, supposed God-fearing Christian man, Donald Trump, symbol of masculine virility and the nuclear family and business success. His right-hand man on the economy is a man married to a man, but Donald Trump and the Republican Party ain't woke. Are you crazy? Of course they are, because they're in a corporate structure, and the corporate structure's woke, and the corporate structure's in a banking structure. Well, the banking structure's woke because that's all tied into a university structure, and that's the wokest of the woke. See how it all is Benito Mussolini's helicopter hand? It's all one thing. A world of death and a game of lies. This one world system of things. The government of the Son of Man as government. The lack of authority as government. Lack of justice as government. Or, as the conspiracy theorists like to talk about, the governing of the mind. Exactly. And if the being will not govern their own mind, this is the result. And you can accuse Benton of a lot of things. You can't accuse Benton of not, over time, way more often than not, governing his own mind. You can't accuse him of that. Because that's not borne out in the what seems to be a permanent record of my own behaviors over time. There's no proof in that pudding. Maybe it's shit. Now, lesser evolved Benton had understandings of some of this, but his reaction would have been to want to explain all of this to everybody all of the time. Now, some would say, well, you're on here explaining it. Well, yeah, but I'm not explaining it to everybody all of the time. It's two different things. And the peanut gallery says, oh, look, he said that he doesn't do the explaining thing, but here he is doing the explaining thing. No, I talked about explanation in a context. The peanut gallery removed the context and then went, ha ha. Okay, great. A bunch of losers are losing again. Who cares? Because they either are so dumb and they're such losers they can't understand the difference in context, or they're pretending not to understand the difference in context. Either way, they're losers. Michael Jordan, on the way to the playoff game, said, pull the bus over. I'm getting out. Went into a bar, smoked cigars, got drunk. Came to the game, played in the playoff game. You know what they said to that man? Not one motherfucking word. Because that spirit in Michael Jordan understood, hell, I'm doing these people a favor playing for their basketball team. I'm doing this trucking company a favor driving their truck, not the other way around. And if I pull into a truck stop and go to sleep, that's my version of Michael Jordan saying, hey, stop the bus, I'm getting off. And then he goes into the bar, smokes cigars, and has about 7 drinks. Now they can talk to him at some point. Now what I mean was nobody said that to him. Then nobody said that to him while the game was going on. Nobody said anything to me that night. Oh, well, now Lou, the loser, did not understand that his star player might do this, and now he's in trouble because he wasn't aware of it, and he's supposed to be aware of it. And if he would have talked to me and said, hey, man, I need you to make sure to keep driving tonight or it's my ass. Okay. I probably would have. Or I would have said, well, sorry about your luck. I'm pulling over. Either way, he wouldn't have got his ass chewed the next morning because he would have already understood this. He would have known the score and known, hey, boss, I don't know what to tell you. That guy, he just does whatever the fuck he wants. So I told him, and he told me, and now we're here. And what's the boss going to say? Boss can't do nothing because you can't unring that bell. And so now Lou, again, back to the feminine world of now he wants to confront me, but he wants to do it without confronting me. See, he wants to confront me, but based on as if he's the queen. Like, well, wait a minute, Lou. I don't want to fuck you, Lou. You understand these women that you've observed and interacted with at some point in their life, there's been a big old group of men that wanted to spread their legs and penetrate them with an erect penis, right? You understand this, hopefully. That ain't the scenario here. So what you've observed from your mama and other women, that's not in play here. You in the world of men, sir. You're talking to an actual man. Which, it's not, Benton here, he's rooting to. It's ridiculous and absurd on its face to be a man. You crazy? Absurd. And then the defilement of that woman laying under that absurd, ridiculous bozo football coach. See? Oh, you think you're going to have some power in this world, lady? Here, okay. Here's your sweaty black man to lay under. Listen to his grunts. I'm sure she enjoyed herself thoroughly. That's sarcasm, in case anybody couldn't tell. I know it's hard to tell because I sound sarcastic, even when I'm not. It's hard to tell the difference. And Gen X, absolute highest level experts in sarcasm, just for the record. Greatest practitioners of sarcasm that this world will ever see. Reality bites. That's as if sarcasm itself wrote a movie. There's a word for what's sardonic. There you go. There's a word. Sardonic. I just passed the road on the sign on the side of the road that says no data center with the Ghostbuster symbol. Oh, there's going to be a data center. Probably already is. Going to be lots of them everywhere. Already is. And you're going to pay for it through your electric bill. Meanwhile, who's living in a truck hadn't paid electric bill since I don't even know when. Now, that's not to say, that's desirable or better or favorable. But now we begin to see through a glass darkly. The royal we sees through a glass darkly, or actually that's not true. You know, perhaps the being sees through a glass darkly. That employment, money, utility bills, rent, mortgage, banking, transacting, it's all in service of a world of death and game of lies. All of it. There's none of it that doesn't serve wickedness and evil. See, Christ, part of the Christ story is a being that, lacked the understanding of doing all of this to the extent that after baptism, he didn't do any of it. But not by discipline, right? By rising to such strong identification with what he is, right? They gave Jack, in the story of Jack and the Beanstalk, they said, here's your magic bean, here's your beans, right? The magic beans. Or no, he traded them for the magic beans. My apologies. May as well be magic beans from Jack's perspective, see. Here's the wealth of the family. We're entrusting it to you. We need you to go buy a cow because I guess you're the only thing passes for a man that's available. And that's the work of a man, right? Winter's bone. Ain't you got no men can do this for you? When they're out there at the lake having to find a body and cut the hands off so this lady can, get her property back or whatever. There's Walmart. Too bad they ain't 24 hours anymore. I need to go shopping. I get to go shopping, rather. We're going stoplight to stoplight because I ain't taking that Indiana toll road. I remember this time that thing sucks, man. There's too much construction. Fucking brutal. I'd rather deal with these stoplights. How does the being feel secure? How? And I would say, well, what's the benefit of feeling secure? Because there's been a comment, one lone comment in the live chat, and I just read it. So it could have happened, could have came in long, long ago. It says something about what are we talking about? Which I guess is what's the topic? And then okay, why would you need to know the topic? Or why Why would you want to know a topic? Number one, listening, you would know the topic, I would say, assuming there is a topic. Maybe there is no topic. However, and this is back to something I learned from Krishnamurti, which is it's not a problem to want to feel secure and to thereby want to know the topic. That's only a problem if the being doesn't understand that their motivation and their feelings around wanting to know a topic, they need to know why that's happening. It's because the being desires, or more correctly, the dead flesh desires to feel secure. Why does it have a desire to feel secure? Because the dead flesh is based on the understanding of the lack of security. That's why. So it seeks to attach itself to a fleeting feeling or state of security. Well, there can never be security in this world of death and game of lies. That's not possible. So the flesh desires a thing that it can never obtain. Meanwhile, this place that has a sense of humor, in fact, knows and understands that if you are what I am, then that security, you are that security. And then the realm laughs and mocks and ridicules and says, look at it, seeking outside of itself, when what it is symbolically is representative of ultimate security, which is to not even understand that it's possible to even, what do you mean state of insecurity? What's security? It doesn't even fucking know what you're talking about. And if you are what I am, that's the so-called king. That's the kingdom of so-called air quotes God, which is within you. And the book also says God, again, air quotes, so-called God is love. Look within. How? How do I look within when this world mocks, ridicules, to inject fear, guilt, and shame anytime I deviate from the status quo, social contracts, and conformity to peer groups? And that status quo, social contract, and conformity to peer groups will not permit me to look within. Well, I guess that's a trap. I guess the being finds itself ensnared in a trap that it cannot escape, or will not escape. And that's in part at least, the so-called plight of humanity. That's what we're talking about. We're never not talking about the plight of humanity, chatter, on some level, unless we're swept away by it and start to identify with it, failing to resolve, making the error of failing to resolve waking dreams surrealistic, unreality, deja vu all over again, which must always be accounted for, because on some level, what is known as reality in this place is a form of lucid dreaming. If old Lou had figured out how to stick around. You see, part of this world of death and game of lies is that Lou can't stick around because Lou's got all the time in the world to have phone conversations with me, as long as I don't, punch him in the face with my words too much. And then he's got to go all of a sudden. But when he feels safe and secure, he's got all the time in the world to girl talk with me, right? And I know if Lou was a hot chick I was trying to bang, I can't girl talk with him or her because she don't bang guys that girl talk with her. Meanwhile, Lou's so confused and lost, he don't even understand that's girl talk. Motherfucker called me at the end of the night. Fucking girl talk. I said, what the fuck is Lou's girl talking? This is crazy. This is crazy. Now the repressed quote conservatives would say, well, Lou's got to be gay. Well, no. You mean he's gay? It's not what that means at all. Right? Something in them, it's triggering the repressed homosexuality within them. See? They don't realize it. So now everybody else has got to be something because they can't and won't say, oh, well, this particular version of the dead flesh contains elements of homosexuality. Oh my God, the horror. Oh wow, the dead, decadent, depraved, filthy, ugly repugnant flesh desires another human being with the same genital composition. Oh my God, what are we gonna do? What are we gonna do? Well, in the olden times, nobody could feel safe and secure, right? You know, if you got the warriors of the tribe playing fucking grab ass and he and about the fucking village, right? We got women and children need to feel safe and secure, buddy. And at some point, the banditos or the fucking the raiding party's going to show up. And y'all got to be able to fight them off, or you're going to go be a raiding party. Actually, if you want to talk about the natives, now if they're out there getting enough plunder, maybe nobody gives a fuck if they want to play a little grab ass here and there. You see how it works? But then when you got a bunch of so-called conservative, oh, we're rootin' tootin', strutting around tough men. When you got a bunch of them acting like loser bozos, getting run roughshod, getting trains ran on their bitch asses by this system of things. Oh no, can't even have even a hint of homosexuality there. I don't know, man. Do your jobs. Right. And I don't mean to serve a wicked, fallen system, world of death, and game of lies. Do your actual duties, conservatives. Do your actual duty. Then maybe you won't care if you get a boner in the wrong scenario. Right? Who cares? Nobody. Except the ones who can't face that, oh my God, their own particular fallen, wicked, repugnant, depraved, dead fucking flesh might have a specific proclivity. Oh my goodness. The horror, the shame. The horror, the shame. Trump don't care. As long as you do what Trump wants. Trump's hired a gay man to steward the economy, but he hired a gay man who will punch you in your face if he needs to. Now, if he gets rough in the bedroom with another man, I don't know. It's none of my business. Don't know, don't care. And that's what your average conservative will say. Well, that's none of my business behind closed doors. The same motherfuckers that were strongly against gay marriage 5 to 10 years ago are strongly in support of Donald Trump for the most part, who's strongly in support of a man married to a man. So which is it? At least the Amish just say, well, fuck it. We're not going along with any of this bullshit. We're going to be out here raising barns and, tending to the animals and such. And I'm not saying that's a way to live. I'm saying at least that's consistent. Grab all the ass you want, conservatives. Just actually do what you say be what you say you are. This is why I can't criticize Democrats and leftists. They are what they say they are. They say, oh yeah, this is what we are. And then they do what they say they are. That's the thing that conservatives think conservatives are. They think, oh, well, Trump, he did what he said. Oh, really? Okay. Just like y'all do what y'all say. Stand up for family values. The next thing you know, some of your churches got a woman pastor. Some of your churches, openly gay. And I'm not even saying this is bad or good or should be allowed or shouldn't be allowed. I'm saying it's not consistent based on what these people, what they think they believe. I'm bringing it back to what they think they believe. And saying, well, where's the action? You're free to join your own church that don't allow that bullshit. And then Benton will say, does your church pay its taxes? No, it's tax exempt. Oh, okay. So you're under the authority and guidance and leadership of a church that doesn't pay taxes but demands that you pay yours. And the pastor is either lying to you or doesn't understand the Bible because all he's going to say is Romans chapter whatever, render unto Caesar. Oh, okay, buddy. Well, I don't have no children, but if I did, by the time my kid was 12, if I raised him up in the Bible, he would be able to figure out by 12 years old that don't make any fucking sense. And that can't possibly be what render unto Caesar means. So are we really going to continue on? Well, okay, maybe 15. Let's continue on with this charade, though. Let's continue on with this charade. Why? Because corporate fat cats must be served above all. Corporate fat cats must be served above all. So go on fucking YouTube, go on TikTok, go on Twitter, and whine and cry about food stamps and say, oh my God, I understand why the government doesn't want to spend $100 billion on food stamps. I say triple it. $100 billion, it ought to be $1 trillion. It should be $1 trillion. They say, what do you mean? Well, the interest on the national debt's over $1 trillion. You can't give $1 trillion to feed the people, but you can give $1 trillion for interest on debt and give it to bankers and investors and other countries that have been willing to finance the debt. The same people that complain about the activities of people with particular shaped noses and little hats will give $1 trillion to those type of folks through banking, but 1/10 of that, or $100 billion. Oh my God, the horror! Give them $1 trillion. Now they want to take from their $100 billion. When is anybody ever going to take a penny from the $1+ trillion of the interest going to the noses and the hats? If that's what we're calling it. If that's what people think it is, right? I'm going by what they think it is. I'm going by what they think it is. And how come this truck, I couldn't pass him at 65? And I tried to slow down to 60 to get him to get in front of me. And now I'm behind him. How come I'm going 60 and I'm running up his ass? Well, because he's trying to manipulate my speed so that I'll go out and speed up ahead and he can follow behind. See? So he's going slow, and then I pull out the pass, and next thing I know, I look in my mirror and I'm no longer passing him. So I say, okay, I'll slow down. And then now all of a sudden he's going 59. So, well, wait a minute, sir, are you going 65 or are you going 59? Well, he's doing both in relation to my speed. Okay, well, I'll just get behind you, sir. Surely I can cruise at 60. You've already proven that you're averaging over. Your intention is to average greater than 60 because you're going 65 and you're going 59. That averages out to higher than 60. Why can't I get behind him and go 60? Because he's seeking to manipulate the speed at which I'm driving. It's like, no, I'm not going to go 70 in a 60 and do your speeding for you, sir. And I think it's kind of rude that you wouldn't let me pass you. If I catch you at 60 and I pull out the pass and next thing I know I'm going 65 and we're just side by side, that's fucking rude. And I'm just going to pull on the see, now he's engaging in a slow driving contest with me. I'm just going to pull over on the shoulder. See, he don't want me to follow him, but he wants to follow me. See? And this is, if you don't understand that this is how people are, how do you make it through your day? That's adversarial. It's never not adversarial. People can dress it up, good vibes only, passive aggressive. It's always adversarial amongst people. Always. It's never not adversarial. Ever. Because it's all attached to money and transacting, and therefore, by definition, is adversarial. So the same truck that was happy to go 65 side by side with me, you know, how many minutes do I have to sit here until I can't see his taillights? I can still see his taillights. He's going so slow. Hazmat tanker. But he's hoping I'll go 68 and he can tuck in behind me. See? Here comes another one. I don't know, maybe y'all could do it together and then you could just sort of flip a coin for whoever goes first, because I'm not interested. And part of the reason I prefer to drive in the early AM is there's plenty of space for all of us to go whatever fucking speed we want and do it by ourselves. See, there's no reason to be in a group of vehicles, except he is in an adversarial fashion is attempting to manipulate things into his favor. For his own advantage. Man will dominate man unto man's own injury. See? Because he's trying to have me be injured so that he's not injured. Otherwise, he will then rate himself to slow driving. Because if he's going to subject himself to slow driving, well, he might as well punish me with his slow driving. See how that's the adversarial nature of it. And so that's why I will never be taught a bill of goods. I will never be sold the bill of goods of, oh, you need to produce for society and you need to be the change you want to see in the world. I design and create my world inside of me on behalf of me for the purposes of what I am. The external world, I have no power. What I am holds no power in an external delusory world. None. Now it acts in the world in the context of waking dreams to realistic unreality, deja vu all over again. But that's a different context. See? And see, Lou doesn't understand that Benton's pattern recognition And Lou also doesn't understand because he's been in the world of the female and the feminine. He doesn't understand that the first time, based on my masculine code, I do the best I can. I don't do it because I'm told to, because society do that for me. And Lou, lacking masculinity and being versed in the feminine wiles, immediately dismisses it and says, "Oh yeah, everybody does their best every day." Well, no, they don't. Number one, Lou, and you certainly don't. Lou's probably never done his best one day in his life. Now, yeah, on whatever video game he prefers, right? In his hobbies, in his extended adolescence. But when you get to the world of adults and the world of punch you in your face men, Lou's never done his best a day in his life. He's never done his best. Doesn't know anything about it. So of course he's dismissive of it. He's not identified with it. It's not his nature, because he hasn't uncovered, and it's not walking the perfected path that may very well lie within. Well, because of Benton's expert level pattern recognition, and in reviewing the tape, he realizes what Lou's done, and that's a dismissal. It's a way of communicating, "Sir, your statement means no meaning and it's out of hand." But it's doing it passively. And a lot of males, if not most, don't understand. Well, it's starting to change, but either way, irrespective of whatever I was going to say. I'm trying to see if there's another fuel stop that could be a stand-in for this one. So I might not want to stop quite yet, although I probably need to go to Walmart. There's a Walmart down the road. Shoot. Let's see what time. It's too early to take a break. There's going to be more Walmarts. Yeah, hang on, I'm making a strategic decision. So I don't want to just wait around for the Walmart to open. Fueling ain't going to take enough time. I don't need a 30 yet. Or more correctly, it won't be a 30 because I'll still have to take another one. Let's see. Can I make it to the next Loves with this level of fuel? Is the question. And the answer is no. So we're stopping here either way. Well, the answer actually is maybe, but really not interested in having to stare at the gas gauge, wondering if I'm going to run out of fuel. What's up, Rachel Zinger? So the next time I make an authoritative statement to Lou was yesterday, and I forget exactly what I said, but he immediately and reflexively did a thing that especially ex-wife number 2 was always able to expertly do to me, which was to, the moment I stopped talking, she could always tell me why I was wrong. But she wasn't intelligent enough. The thing is, a lot of what I was saying was brand new information and it was novel. She'd never heard it. And she's treating it like it's passé and everybody knows that. No, she has a strategy of dismissal, expert in a strategy of dismissal. Lou is an expert in a strategy of dismissal. So he dismisses out of hand what I'm saying, and I called him on it. I said, Lou, you got to understand, when I make a statement and you say everybody has that characteristic, that's the exact same thing as saying that it's that nobody has it. You're dismissing the validity of it, sir. And then he tries to wiggle out of it and tries to imply that it's not appropriate that I call him on that. And I say, listen, man, you can't make me live in a world where you express yourself and it's okay, and I express myself and it's not permitted or it's viewed as wrong or bad. I said that you can't, I will not live in that world. And if you don't like it, I don't care. And that's the world of men. In the world of men, you say what you have to say, I have what I have to say. And if you don't like it, that never entered into it. I said, man, listen, I said, the world I grew up in is very different than this world. And the world I grew up in, nobody ever considered for half a second what any man thought or preferred. A man expressed himself, and just whatever happened is whatever happened. You couldn't stop him, buddy. You damn sure couldn't shame him for it. And he makes you deal with it. And I didn't say, well, you don't know anything about that. I said, I prefer not to live in that world. But as a part of not living in that world, I can't let you do this to me, Lou. I didn't say that, but that was what was being communicated. I can't let you do that. He's actually being rude to me by making me do this to him. See what I'm saying? Which does become the abuser-abusee dynamic. But guess what? I'm not an abuser. And guess what? Hopefully Lou's not signing up to be abused. But he's observed a lot of female behavior whereby, like it or not, strategically, some of those beings, and it's not necessarily because of what's between their legs, they will choose to put themselves in what they know to be an abusive situation. Meaning they will accept certain things in order to get certain things, and maybe they believe they don't have a choice. There's never not a choice. I could choose to view truck driving as abusive. I'm free to park this motherfucker and walk away from it anytime I want. I don't have to drive this truck. I don't have to drive it beyond whatever the next truck stop is. Or the Love's up here in 12 miles. Or what's the next city? Indianapolis. Get on a plane or a train or a bus or whatever. You have to drive this truck. She don't have to go home to that man that's doing to her what he's doing to her, and vice versa. That man don't have to go home to that woman that's doing what she's doing. He does. She does. Lou don't have to show up to a job and talk to me on the phone. Lou accepted that. And yeah, I will accept a lot of fucking nonsense, and I will hold my tongue. And guess what? Nobody notices when Benton holds his tongue. They only notice when the word of God goes out of his mouth like a sharp sword and cuts through it all. Because Lou knows I'm right. Lou knows there's no argument. All Lou can do is try to put it back on me, so I'll shut the fuck up. No, Lou, I won't shut the fuck up. And furthermore, if you're suggesting to me that it's not appropriate that I express myself, well, how can you possibly believe that it's appropriate to express yourself? And Lou tried to cite authority. He tries to cite authority. What authority, Lou? Oh, you've got the right to address these things? Well, you're implying that I don't have the right, Lou. Well, based on what I am, Lou, I have that right, sir. And see, here's the epiphany. Lou is in a world that can't recognize the authority whereby what I am can assert itself and say, yeah, it's a self, it is its own authority. By what right, Lou? You're listening to the voice of it, Lou. You're listening to its voice right now. That thing, the spirit of what I am, Lou, you don't get to tell it to be quiet. Well, you do get to tell it to be quiet. It gets to tell you, not only am I not going to be quiet, now that you've now that I was holding my tongue, the word of God was sheathed. The sword, the word of God that goes out of its mouth like a sharp sword was in its sheath, Lou. It's now sheathed. It's unsheathed, Lou. Now you're telling it it's not like, you can have a hit on it all one. That's what it does. The bus to pull over so he can go into a bar and smoke cigarettes and have 6 drinks right before the playoff game. Yeah, you can have an opinion about it. You can even get off the bus with him and tell him not to do it. You can say, well, thank you for sharing your view, Lou, but I'm about to go ahead and order another Jack and Coke or whatever. I don't know what. Gin, maybe? I don't know. What does Michael Jordan drink? Martinis? I don't fucking know. Maybe even beer before the game. Of course, that seems like more of an after game beverage. Gin and tonic? Scotch, maybe. Lord knows he had the money for a decent scotch. Downtown in some city somewhere. That's where all the sports franchises are. Imagine being a MAGA, traditional family values Christian. We're into all of this and God and country and rooting for NFL franchises and talking about woke, blue, liberal, leftist cities, and every damn one of them. Every damn one of those sports franchises is in one of them cities. Every fucking one of them. What do you got? The Packers? It's the only one that ain't. It's not too far from Milwaukee and Chicago. I can probably get a decent scotch in a bar in Green Bay. What if I go to your watering hole where you live, conservatives? Oh, we're rural, God-fearing country folks. Okay. Why are you in all that NFL gear then? Michael Jordan ain't smoking cigars and drinking scotch in your backwater. Now, is it? But you'll venerate him all the same. If not Jordan, Tom Brady or whoever. And your women know it. It's one of my favorite things about the absurdity and ridiculousness of being a man, manhood. Oh, your women know it. My daddy used to watch, my daddy who joined the Jehovah's Witnesses, he used to watch Farrakhan on TV. Some of these conservatives in the so-called truth community, yeah, you may not listen to me. Well, what's your wife listening to? And I'm not saying she is listening to me. I'm just saying, don't have to be me. She's hearing these ideas somewhere. You think she don't know the difference? Your wives know when you say one thing and do another. And they let you. And maybe it's loving and maybe it's not. Maybe it vacillates between love and evil. Evil is what? Live spelled backwards. Live and love, ain't that two? Them words is fairly similar. Or EVOL. Either way, however you want to spell it. Spell casting. Well, Benton's looked into some so-called witchcraft here and there. Now, he was most likely under some demonic oppression at the time and didn't quite understand that that's what was going on, but he came to understand that was what's going on, and he confessed, repented, sought forgiveness, and has been forgiven. And when one of these woman's men puts them and the family under the so-called leadership and guidance of the Bible, Father God, Christ, church. Well, she knows if you're actually doing that or not. She knows who and what you're serving. And if the hierarchy really is God, man, woman, child, well, maybe she will bear some responsibility, not as much as you do, when it all inevitably goes sideways. Now, of course, Benton strategically has avoided all of this by not taking on any of that, what the Hindus or the Indians might refer to as householder status. Now, Benton skipped all of that and went right into the yogi practitioner, meditator, seeker, right? Which, surprise, surprise, America makes an enemy of that person. And India at least pretends to venerate. Now, it subverts it and undermines it by heaping wealth and riches on all of those fellas. It builds them up and then makes sure that they are adorned in the dead forms of this world while they lecture on non-attachment and not seeking all of these things. Oh, okay. While they sit on whether a literal or metaphorical gold throne and are weighted on hand and foot. Benton's being driven forth as a beast of burden, living in a truck, unwashed, dirty feet trucker, or sleeping in a car or walking around dusty, dirty Los Angeles all summer long. Either way, don't you get it? Your women get it. Whether the fellas understand or acknowledge that power, the power of it's been unleashed, hell hath no fury style, as a woman scorned, and the Michigan head football coach thought he could scorn a woman and thought he was so powerful and praised. And well, these other women, I'm sliding into their DMs. They think I'm the greatest thing since sliced bread. Yeah, because they hadn't laid under you yet. Give them some time, buddy. And old Benton ain't got to worry about your women. Because old Benton's proven over the course of his life the reality that I absolutely could have had relations with almost all of my close friends' women and never considered it for half a second. And when two different newly minted hot ass 18-year-old gals showed up at my door when they knew my woman wasn't there and presented themselves at my doorstep, I stood there, looked at her and said, state your business. Because you ain't coming in here. I want to tell you, because if you come in here, I'm responsible for whatever happens, and she knows it. That's the power of a woman. If he lets me in this door, he's responsible for whatever happened. He don't get to say, well, it was a moment of weakness. Jimmy swaggered. I have sinned. No, because I know if I let her in the door, I know why I know there's only one reason I'm letting her. So I'm trying to see what's underneath there. And now it's not, this time it's legal. I shouldn't say this time. There never was a time, because it was, if it's forbidden, it's always forbidden. And when my friend has a woman, and I no longer believe in possession. See, I was taught, in some way that's my woman and my property and my possession. It wasn't stated that way, but it was acted upon that way. See, this is absurd. This is wrong. It's a violation. But, so because I'm then viewing women as other men's property. That's also not right in my world. In my world, I'm only speaking for me. Well, so if it's wrong, it's never not wrong. Oh, they broke up. I don't care. Who gives a fuck that they broke up? That's forbidden territory. She can bat her eyes and shake her ass, bend over in front of me all she wants. Who gives a fuck? So I ain't going there. See, that's called being a man, and a man's a man because he's got a code, and that code is particular to him. And the only way he knows if it's a principle is it's got to be tested at some point. Turns out, well, I thought I was the type of fellow that wouldn't pick up and deliver loads on the personal conveyance. Well, apparently I am. I thought I was a different type of fellow. Turns out I'm not. Now we have new information. Act accordingly. We've learned something. We've come out of our confusion. Now, let's not go back into it. Let's not blame it on something else. If we blame it on something else, all we accomplish is to remain in confusion. If it's anything else's fault, then now we remain in confusion. And the man warrior side of things, in order to be effective, it can't delude itself and simultaneously be effective. See, Bobby Petrino, when he done what he done as a football coach, dipping his pen in the company ink and all of this, see, he understood all of that. The Michigan football coach didn't understand all of that. Meanwhile, why would Michigan doesn't want him being their coach if he can't even figure that the fuck out. Okay, bozo, you want to go you want to go step on your dick? Go for it. Be right back. 25. Well, actually, it's colder than that. About 20 degrees. It's almost winter. Yeah, buddy. There you go, Rachel. The love of money is the root of all evil. And that may be the most misquoted famous saying of all time because I almost never hear somebody quote that properly. Almost never. And most of the time, when I hear people say money is the root of all evil, they don't, when pressed, they can't come up with the accurate quote. No, it's the love. And if you look at the definition of mammon, it means in part money. It means basically, it means the love of money. Mammon is the love. It's the love of money as master. And the flesh loves money, at least in part, in certain ways. I like money. I always have. I know that's kind of a mundane statement. You know, says something about some of my own narcissistic traits. It's like, yeah, okay, buddy, you as if it has any meaning that it's assigning too high of a value to the fact that Benton likes money. Okay, great. It's like the famous story of the baseball player Ricky Henderson who loved to go third person. One of your greatest of all time with going third person. They said when he got his first big bonus check that eventually the accounting at the he played baseball for the Oakland Athletics. It said eventually accounting was like, hey, we got this check that never cleared. And Ricky, his first big check, he framed it and put it on his wall. It's that kind of spirit. That's a person that likes money. buddy? Oh, sorry. Lou was a dispatcher that I temporarily worked with. Yeah. My apologies, Rachel. Yeah, Lou, Gen Z, which I like Gen Z. I'm not one of these Gen Z haters. All generations are equally fucking bullshit. They're all equally ridiculous and fallen. The whole thing. They're all equally worthless, just in different ways. Check, yeah, sure. Of course, there's certain things that are bad about Gen Z, but there's certain things that are bad about Gen X or the Boomers, or whoever. I mean, yeah, of course, it's all equal. But Gen Z's got the trump card for now. What's the trump card? They're still young, and we ain't. They're the only ones that are young. Them and whatever they're calling the next ones, Gen Alpha or whatever the fuck. Let's see if I can figure out how to get into the Walmart. I guess it's close enough to time. Time we get parked, they'll be open. A couple minutes later. See, I don't want to do this. Side here. Around the back. Overcharging all my devices here. Everything's at 100, which means it's all been at 100. Sorry, I guess. All right. Welcome to Wally World. I guess the stream's probably about over, but y'all hang out with me. Okay, we been. But no, that's what I mean when I say I like money is I just like having it. I mean cash. I mean actual cash money. Then the horror. Aren't you worried carrying that? I said, listen, nobody carries cash. If I don't show it to people, how the fuck are they gonna know I got cash on me? Can we think about this? Like, why would I fear having cash on me if nobody carries cash? When was the last time somebody tried to rob you? It was like, hey, give me the money. What would you say? Well, I don't have any money. Exactly. What do you think I'm gonna do? I don't have any money. What do you think there's robbers just going around robbing motherfuckers, asking for cash that they don't have? Like, it doesn't even make sense. And don't pull out a big wad of money in front of everybody. You're probably all right. See, so when I say I like money, I like, I used to carry about 10 G's on me, and then I'm frugal, so not spend it. I'm not going to spend it. Whether I have some people, they can't leave the house with $100. They're going to spend $100. I can leave the house with $10,000. Hell, I don't have a house. Part of the reason I got $10,000, which I don't, but I think you know what I mean. And oh look, quit my truck driving job, and I find a Nissan Versa. All right, here's $5,000. Sign the title over. Thank you. So have a nice day. Don't think twice about it. None of this, I got to go to the bank. We got to go here. We got to go there. Here's your money. Here's your money. Give me my car. Right. Yeah. That's what I like. Or whatever that is. Hey, our system's down. A few times that's happened. We can't take we can't do anything but cash. And I just laugh at all the bozos while I buy whatever I came to buy, and they're looking dumb. A lot of people can't carry around $200. It's like, that's $200. Just put $200 in your wallet and leave it there. Like, I was homeless for years, and half the time I managed to have $100 in my wallet that I wasn't spending. Emergency fund. In case. Do not break glass in case of emergency. Break glass. Most folks don't have that discipline. That's okay. See, Ricky didn't really give a fuck about what he could do with the $100,000 or whatever it was, because he knew he was the value. He liked the idea of looking at his check on the wall. He literally, now, some of that may be apocryphal or whatever, but I'm pretty sure some version of that happened. Half of it is they're just making fun of him, like, who would be this silly? You probably don't, and most guys are buying, they can't wait to go buy their $100,000 car back then. Ricky probably already had a car he liked. Why is he going to rush out to buy? Let me go show everybody. No, these motherfuckers are going to come to my house, and I'm going to show them my check on the wall. You know what I mean? Ricky sure, it's standing and go, Ricky sure didn't steal a bunch of bases. Look, here's the proof. Ricky stole so many bases. Look what they gave him. What's the fucking difference in that and driving around in one of these, supercars that half the people that have them don't give a fuck about supercars? Since I'm fascinated with true crime, that Wade Wilson bozo out there slanging dick was driving around in some woman's Hellcat, except he couldn't drive a stick. He was telling people that was his car, and he couldn't even fucking drive it. But he wanted to associate himself with that item. I don't give a fuck about that. I like money. It has its place in a world of death. It's like, yeah, the money's dead. It's a form of death. But guess what? This world is a world. Money traces its origins to this world. Therefore, that's its nature is death. Fairly straightforward. Steep hill there. Might as well. What I figured may happen. There's tight back here.
King Man. It's got the man in the name. Ran off in the grass over here. Swinging wide, it's a trailer. Oh, I forgot though. One thing is it's wintertime. And there's no piles of snow where I was planning on parking. Another thing, I might have to just drive right back out of this motherfucker. Might not be anywhere for me to park. But oh, people want to just common sense, conventional wisdom. Oh, what? Big trucks deliver to all the Walmarts. Just try to dismiss my concerns about well, you can't just necessarily drive to Walmart and go shop. Oh, well, big trucks, they deliver to all of them. Yeah, exactly. So why am I at one right now? And where am I going to park and walk in the shop? That's the one thing I have to do with the other. Big old gigantic piles of snow where I was planning on parking. Why should a bunch of shoppers have to deal with my ass in their way? It's Christmas season, so unlike most of the time when they first open, there's comparatively large number of people here. Sequester myself, get the fuck out of here. And also, the parking lot has to be laid out such that it won't, or it will turn into a truck stop. They're actively thwarting my efforts, or they have. So what does the fact that semis deliver to Walmart that has nothing to do with me trying to get my groceries right about now? Giving myself up to that. Now make type maybe get ourselves in trouble. Set it up with the customers. Everybody will sell. Oh, Walmart. Yeah, okay. Sure they do. I'm not trying to spend 20 minutes maneuvering the fucking parking lot. Maybe getting hemmed up. Making wide fucking turns, running into poles and shit. Which I'm almost running into right now. Surprise, surprise, it's just perfectly enough space for me to get through there. As long as I'm this will be effectively impossible during the daytime. Fit right there. Now I'm blocking the people trying to come in. This is what I'm already attempting to avoid. And yeah, when it's not wintertime and there's not gigantic piles of snow, then yeah, there's somewhere to park. given up on trying to have these conversations with people within the school. In their mind, it's never possible. I don't know. It just happened to me. That's why I plan ahead. But really what they're saying is they don't want to think about the fact that they could go on to Google satellite view. There may be some of the Walmarts that they choose not to go into. That's what I do. If I can't verify before I get there, then I'm going to be able to get in and out. But now fortunately, we have a spot next door. It's going to be somewhat inconvenient, but there's at least enough space to be out there running plays. See, now I have to make sure it doesn't even matter if I have time for this or not. Another truck seems to have figured out that he found him a spot. Probably familiar with the area. He found a spot that I passed up because I didn't account for the possibility of the piles of snow on the other side of the store, so I drove right past it. Ambo. Sign up and hope they don't throw me. It says no overnight parking. Well, technically, I didn't park here overnight. I need groceries, damn it. All right. I'm out of here. I'll probably be back at some point.